Alright folks, we are back again. This time we are on round 4 of the MoJo Showdown. Last week was obviously round 3, it was at Japan, and we were able to pick up our second win in a row. And more importantly, we are able to take the championship lead for the first time this season. So, heading into round 4, we lead the Drivers' Championship by a small margin over Timo. But we are not winning the Constructors' Championship right now. I'm actually not sure, as of recording this, how many points we are back. I'll have to double check that, but yeah, unfortunately my teammate crashed out at Japan, so we weren't able to bring in big team points. But first and foremost, I am focusing on the Drivers' Championship, because that is going to be an easy task. You know, Timo is a great competitor, great driver, so what happened last week was a fluke, and I expect that all throughout this entire season we're going to be fighting each other pretty heavily for every win. And you know, it's just a matter of time. They're not all going to go my way, but I got to do the best I can to make them all go my way. So we'll see what will happen. But today we are at Britain, and Britain is one of my least favorite tracks in the game in terms of competitively speaking. Like, I appreciate all the F1 tracks. I like how they're all unique. They all drive differently. Like, I don't get bored driving any specific track in the game, you know? There isn't any track that I'm like, oh, playing the game on this track just sucks. But speaking from a competitive standpoint, a league racing standpoint, this is one of my least favorite tracks to league race on in the entire game. And the reason for that is specifically because it is so easy to follow on this track. None of the corners are particularly difficult, and there aren't any sections of the track that are a string of corners that allow you to break away from the car behind you. And there's just so many straightaways, so many easy opportunities for slipstream. You could be 3/4 of a second faster than the car behind, and they're going to keep up with you just on slipstream alone, which, if you're a driver up front and you know you got the pace to run up front, that gives the biggest opportunity for your competition to beat you, which means you're going to have a more difficult time than on a track like, let's say, Singapore, where it's not so easy to follow, so therefore the drivers with more pace can break away more easily. So yeah, very difficult to break away on this track. So my mindset going into this is just stay calm, play the long game. I know that me and Timo are probably going to be within DRS range of each other for the majority of this race, unless if one of us would make a mistake. So going into this, my strategy is just same as last time. Don't be a hero on my qualifying lap. Start first or second, and just get yourself into a rhythm, and this is going to come down to ERS management. If you can have a lot more ERS than your opponent when you're in a DRS train with each other, then if you see any kind of slip up or any kind of mistake where you can break a few tenths away, you can kind of burn your ERS to try to get to that 1 second barrier and get them out of your slipstream. If you can get them out of your slipstream, it's going to do one of two things. One, you're either going to break away and win the race, which is obviously good, or two, if they do catch back up to you, as long as you don't make a mistake, then they're going to have to burn a lot of their ERS to get to you, so then you have an advantage in the ERS game. Which, these are very small, you know, these are fractional things we're talking about here, but that's how close it is when you got very skilled drivers at the front of the field of a league race racing on a track like this where it's so easy to follow. Like, I knew going into this, like, I have experience on this track, I'll have strong consistent pace. I knew Timo was going to be doing the same thing, and that, like I said, the little things are going to make a big difference. Like, if you get a 3-second time penalty, your race is chalked, it's over, you got no chance. You're not busting 3 seconds away from like a top 5 to 1%er in the game on a track like this. So, going into the qualifying start now, I'm actually, it's a little bit of a spoiler here, I'm disappointed with my qualifying in that I was way too timid going into this. Like, I understand the mindset, I mean, I preach the mindset of err on the side of caution, especially when it's one-shot qualifying, but you can see there, it's like I just missed the apex by a lot. It's just, I left too much of a margin for error, and sometimes it's actually easier to drive more on the limit, because when you're on the limit of the car, the more speed you're carrying through the corners, the more the aerodynamics of the course give you downforce. So it's actually easier to feel the car if you're right on the limit than if you're only like 80% onto the limit, if that makes sense. Because you, like, as a pad player, I get the most vibration out of the controller when I'm right on the limit, whether it's handling or on the throttle. And you'll see there in the long right-hander, I kind of just hugged the inside too much. I didn't carry enough speed through the corner, kind of coast a little bit to the outside of the corner and do kind of like a double apex technique on it. But heading here into Sector 3, we still have not invalidated, which is obviously really important, especially a one-shot qualifying. The last thing you want to do is start in the back at a league race. Yeah, not great, but nice and smooth here through the S section. And we'll see, will it be enough for pole, or will I have to start in P2 in this race? Anything can happen off the start of this race, and you don't want to get caught up in some incident where someone from third out breaks himself or anything like that, and then that guy in the lead just breaks away. Like, that could be the end of it right there, because like I said earlier, even if I would be able to get back to Timo using a bunch of ERS, he'll have such an ERS advantage that it won't matter, he'll break way out. But we crossed the line, it looks like we may have gotten pole there. Qualifying complete came up right as we crossed the line, but we will see when the game eventually loads and tells us. And hopefully before I run out of things to say to fill this little time gap here. Come on, F1, can we see? A bunch of XP I don't care about because I don't want stuff by content creators that I don't care about. And yes, we did get pole position by 0.4 of a second. So obviously that's not representative of the actual pace here. 26.4, that's okay. But obviously your one-shot qualifying, just without going into big detail, your one-shot qualifying times are going to be slower than your full qualifying session where you actually do the outlap and stuff yourself, because you have slightly more fuel, the tires aren't as well prepared, little minor things like that. You can get a better run to the line. So I was expecting low 26s there, not quite into the 25s, but to see myself in the mid 26s and then also get pole by almost half a second, there was just some kind of a small mistake by Timo there. Obviously that's not representative of the pace, so I didn't let that get to my head here. And it's going to be a very easy strategy here. It's softs to mediums. Hards can go the whole distance of the race, putting in, looks like exactly 0.7 extra laps of fuel. And I don't know if a safety car was going to come out or not in this race, but if it did, the pit lane here, you lose a lot of time in the pit lane at Britain. So if you can keep yourself from pitting under green and do your only pit stop under caution, it really saves. Like, even if I pit the hards lap 1, that tire advantage that they'll have the whole race will not make up for the pit stop that they would have to make if it would stay green for the rest of the time. So here we are, off the grid start. I actually don't remember how my start was here. Looks like my start was kind of okay. Timo actually got slightly better start, so he's going to be right up my chuff coming through the first couple corners. Is he going to dive bomb? That's what I was worried about. I was worried about seeing those red arrows. Don't see any red arrows. I take the apex. And okay, we're away clean. Now we just got to see a little bit of wheel spin there. Obviously not good, but I don't want to burn too much ERS. I need to keep ERS in the pocket to defend. And I also need to keep ERS in the pocket so if he does overtake me, that I have ERS to use to make sure I stay within the slipstream. Can't lose slipstream. If I lose slipstream, it is game over. Which, looking back on this race, it's kind of funny to see because I play with the map off, but afterwards when I saw it from other people's perspective, you'll see that in this league a lot of people spread out, and then you just got me and Timo right on each other. So it's kind of funny to see like everyone in the mid and the rear of the field is all spread out, but up front, you know, you just got two guys going at it the entire race. That's probably a crazy point of view where it's like, uh-oh, back marker, and then you see the guys fighting for the lead. It's almost like George Russell when he went into the grass watching the battle at Austria between Leclerc and Verstappen in 2019. I would do that. I would be like, oh man, what's going on? Yeah, anyhow, we have the lead off the start. I'm aggressive with my ERS usage at the beginning of a race because if there's an early safety car, you're gonna or even a virtual safety car, you're gonna be able to save up that ERS anyhow. So it's kind of free meter if you think about it, if there is an early yellow. But if not, you know, I have a whole race to kind of recharge it, not overuse it. As you can see, we're still hanging on to like 80%. So when I say burner like that, using 30% on a lap, that's a lot for me. Like, I try to never use overtake below 30%. And then right there, our teammate is out of this race, which obviously I'm focusing on myself. I'm focusing on the Drivers' Championship. But in the back of my head, I want a Constructors' Championship too. I think, I don't have the number prepped off the top of my head, but yeah, no safety car either. So we're just not thinking about it. Like, yeah, it sucks to see your teammate go out, but I'm not thinking about it, just focusing on my own race right now. And yeah, it does stink. That's 2 races in a row I lose my teammate, and that's big points we don't get in Constructors. But like I said, main focus is Drivers. But I do want to win Constructors too, because obviously it's another championship that you're fighting for. And I only have 1 Constructors Championship in my career. How many in the F1 game only, I have I have 5 drivers' championships. I have 1 constructors. It's kind of a joke amongst some people in leagues I've been in where I'm just never able to win constructors, but I've come close a lot of times. I've had a lot of teams that are really good, but like my teammate can't show up for every race, or I can't show up for every race. But yeah, I am hoping to win both drivers and constructors here, but it's not going to be easy with the competition. Timo, his teammate Barkologist brings in solid points. Both of the Mercedes drivers have the potential to pick up consistent podiums. So there's 3 solid teams here that are all going to be fighting for constructors, and anything can happen on any given day, especially with how many races there are. You know, it's a long calendar. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, so you can't let anything get in your head. Like, even if you crash out in a race, you got to understand that you got a lot of races to make that up. So anyhow, into the race, as you can see, it's exactly like I said. Timo's just stay in my slipstream. It doesn't matter how fast I go, really. Like, even if I'm 3/4 of a second a lap faster than him, he's going to be able to stick right with me and not lose any time just because of the slipstream so good anyhow. Which is honestly really frustrating as a driver if you feel like you have a pace advantage. Like I said earlier, that 4/10 was definitely a fluke. Maybe I would have 2 or 3/10 advantage in terms of pace. But even with that, you know, you would think, do the math, like, hey, 3 or 4 laps, you can break out of DRS, but you will see, a little bit of a spoiler here, that would not be the case. Me and him, you're going to see us very close together in each other's DRS for a very high majority of the race. He gets really close to me here, but does not go for the move. And I'm kind of thinking on the inside, like, it's kind of a guessing game. Like, is he using ERS to keep up with me? And is he about to run out of ERS and then I get the break away? Or is he actually saving all of his ERS, hoping that I use mine to try to defend? It's the kind of guessing game that you can't really predict. You know, there's no real way when the car's behind you to get the answer to those questions I just asked. So I just gotta do my best, not make a mistake, and just try to find that balance of keeping a fast pace but not burning too much ERS. So I try to make my pace off of the driving technique and don't rely on fuel and ERS for my driving. I just use it as like a boost, if that makes sense. But yeah, we are already on lap 4. No early safety car, which is honestly a good thing. I want, if a safety car would happen to bring us together, that just raises the chances of, you know, if someone stays out and get in my way. Like, I don't want to get involved in incidents involving any other drivers, especially when it's only me and Timo, as you can see in this race, on the pace right now. Anyone getting in our way can really, you know, like I said, if a 1 second gap opens up at any point between us, the race is basically over. So you absolutely can't let that happen. So like right now, if a safety car came out, if we pit, which would be the smart play, and then someone started on mediums, and you'll see Timo goes by. We don't really fight it right now. We're hoping that he's using his ERS. I'm like hoping and praying right now. I hope he burned all of his ERS. I kind of faked that there. I was hoping he would react to it, maybe make a mistake. I'm looking for any little bit I can get out of him, and I'm sure he's doing the same thing to me as well. But I'm not panicked at all getting overtaken, because I know he's not going to be able to get out of my slipstream unless I really mess up. And if he does get out of my slipstream, I can just use ERS to get back into it, and then just sit behind him and harvest ERS again. It's just, it's a brutal game. It's a very small margins game, but it's also a very easy game to play on this track, which is why I don't like it for league racing. It's too easy to overtake. It would kind of be like a league racing at Daytona. You just hold the gas and then slipstream pass, and you just kind of juggle positions till you kind of see who's up front at the end. So, but we still got a lot of race left. We will see what happens. But right here, I'm right up his butt. And when I see him break away there a little bit, my mind's like, alright, he's using a little bit of ERS. So I'm just trying to pressure him as much as possible to get him to use every little bit of meter I can get him to use. And if I can get a big meter advantage, even at the end of the race, where we're all just burning everything, then you basically, you can be out front and they're not going to pass you. The DRS and slipstream, while it is plentiful in this game, it's not as strong as real life. Like, you can still keep someone behind that has DRS on you if you have a bunch of overtake and they don't have any at all. And there I used just a touch of it to make sure I secure this pass. And now I'm looking for any opportunity I can get to break that 1 second barrier. And we'll see if I'm able to do it, or if we're just going to keep overtaking each other back and forth. But yeah, like I said,
your MFD for a new
we got an alternate strategy by Jeff. What does he want?
Understood.
He thinks we can go longer on the tires, but I'm not going to do that. Because if I did that, okay, my tire is going to be better at the end. But at the same time, he could open up that second gap with a 2-lap undercut. And then there, we have a DNF. One of the Mercedes, I believe, is out. There is the safety car. And you're going to see us box to mediums, and we're going to take those mediums all the way to the end of the race. Mediums can easily make it to the end of the race from here. The safety car I kind of felt meh about because we built a big gap. I didn't think that anyone would be able to get by us if they even stayed out, but I wasn't really worried about it. I got track position over Timo, so if there is someone in front of us after we pit for the safety car, if I overtake him and Timo doesn't overtake him right away, that's an opportunity for me to open up that 1 second gap. So maybe it'll play out in my advantage. But either way, we won't have to make a green flag pit stop. We'll be able to make this stop under yellow, take these mediums to the end of the race, and not have to worry about anything. We won't have to worry about fuel, we won't have to worry about tires, any of that stuff. All I'll have to do is just focus on my on-track battle with Timo, and hopefully we come out on top. Because the points are close enough right now that even though I do have the points lead, if he wins and I get second, he retakes the point lead. So it's very fine margins right now. And even if something does go wrong, we need to make sure we're constantly getting second place if he's winning. Because what it could come down to, if we're trading wins back and forth, but one person's always finishing second when they don't win, but the other guy's getting some DNFs or maybe 5th to 7th, that'll make all the difference. And we come into the pits. Always a 2.6 second pit stop when you play online. I still always wait to react to the green of the light to launch, because if you drop the clutch and a car's coming by so you don't get to go, you have to re-engage the clutch to go. So, and just, like, don't be here going for hundredths in a pit lane. Like, I'm not going to gain or lose position anyhow, so last thing I want to do is drop the clutch. And you'll see 2 cars get by us coming out of the pits here, which honestly surprised me. I thought maybe 1 car would get out, if any, in front of us. But here 2 cars get out in front of us. One of the Alpha Tauris, I have driver names off because I think they get in the way, you know. It's just a block of a name there in my way when I'm looking for braking markers or trying to look beyond that. Yeah, I got one of the Alpha Tauris in front of me, and I can't see yet who is the leader currently, and it looks like it's the other Williams. Is that the other Williams? Barkologist, I believe that would be. By process of elimination, because it's obviously not Timo, he's right behind me. That's Michael Orange in front of us, the cousin of the drivers running the lead, MoJo and Chan. So we will see what happens when the safety car comes in. I've never been behind these drivers before, and I know that they're new to league racing, so it'll be interesting to see how they restart under safety car. They might not be experienced with restarting under a safety car. Like, all these things go through my head while I'm racing, so I'm just going to give them a little bit of space, just not try to predict it, just react when they launch. You got to remember the acronym KISS sometimes when you're playing a game. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't be a hero going for these tiny advantages when the risk is everything. You know, you got to pick and choose when it's a good time to take these risks and when it's not. So we'll see if the safety car comes in this lap, or we're going to go around a couple more times. I'm pretty sure the safety car does not come in this lap. That would be really quick if it did come in, but I've seen way crazier things in this game. And you'll actually see we got a couple drivers pitting now. I'm actually really surprised to see that pit stop there. I wonder what those pit stops were for, because it would have been way more efficient to pit right away, because now they're pitting while when everyone was already queued up behind them, so they just lose spots to everybody. Maybe they had a strategy changed, maybe they rethought their strategy, I don't know, but either way, that puts us in second now with only 1 car in front of us, and it's going to be Michael Orange on 8-lap old mediums. So we're going to have a tire advantage, but not a huge tire advantage, but I do think we have a little bit of a pace advantage here, looking from qualifying, and the fact that me and Timo were really way out on our own during green flag running. So the key here for me is going to be break away from Timo, hopefully, by kind of using Michael Orange as a pick. If I can pass him quickly, and then I can kind of use the time while Timo fights with him to kind of break that 1 second gap. And then, like I said before, either I'll be able to keep that 1 second gap or force him to burn a lot of his ERS to close back into that 1 second gap. But really, the best time to do that is going to be immediately. Be aggressive right away, because without DRS, he won't be able to keep up to me quite as efficiently. So as we fast forward to the end of lap 8, safety car is announced that it is coming in. Michael Orange will be leading us to the green flag. He is on the warm mediums. We are on the fresh mediums. Only 8 lap mediums, not going to be too warm. But like I said, this is a big opportunity here. Anything can happen here. You got to be ready for anything. He's keeping a decent pace as the safety car is about to come in. Makes me think he's going to launch early. We'll see when he goes here. He's leaving a little bit of gap just in case he slows down. And then we see him launch there. Nice smooth restart by Mr. Orange. And we are back underway green. Now here's the key moment. Can we get by him quickly? We don't want to waste a lot of time behind him and give Timo behind us a chance to attack us. As we see coming out of this corner, can we get a good run? We can maybe get him down the stair, but he drops it under acceleration. It's a shame to see, but we have Timo right behind us, so we might have to defend against him. We burn some of our ERS, and I can tell that Timo definitely saved his ERS there, because he would have been able to pass us that close in the slipstream. And now we're right back to square one, except now we're on medium tires. It's the exact same thing as before, and yep, my mind just tried to lock right back into the rhythm, playing the same game we were playing before, and it's a really annoying game, honestly. It's just, no matter what I do, how fast I go, like, he just gets to keep up for free because the slipstream is so good on this track. It's so annoying. It's why I hate league racing on Britain, especially in some of the quicker leagues I'm in, where you'll just have a train of 7 to 12 cars and we just can't break away from each other. And any little moment, you know, one guy can do a knucklehead move and it just completely chalks your race right there. It can be so brutal, so frustrating to league race on this track. But oddly enough, I've had a lot of really good results on this track. Like, I don't even know if I've finished outside of the podium on Britain since like 2019, so it's always weird where there's all these tracks I complain about for league racing that I also always seem to do good about them. Like, another example is Hungary. It's so hard to overtake on Hungary, and the track is so skinny that you can't overtake in Sector 2 and 3. But I always seem to win there, so you kind of got to pick and choose what you complain about, I guess. So yeah, we're able to, and it looks like we're able to get a little bit of a gap, but definitely not anything beyond the 1 second gap that we need. And yeah, like I said, right back into the rhythm, just focusing on clean, penalty-free, fast race, and hoping from any mistake behind that we can pounce on, burn our ERS, and open up that gap and get them out of our DRS. But obviously that's way easier said than done when you got another top-level driver right behind you. Fast forwarding to lap 11, I moved to the inside, trying to do everything I can to break the slipstream, but I'm not spending ERS here. I still got just under 70%. He flies by. I'm hoping he kind of outruns himself, or outbreaks himself there. He doesn't. He holds the position. I'm still just calm at this point. Just on the inside, I'm like, oh, this track sucks to race on. But, you know, I'm still having fun. Still enjoy playing the game. It is a fun track to drive. It's just frustrating to race on with other fast drivers.
We won't be making another pit stop.
Things I really need to focus on here are not getting a penalty and not using too much ERS, keeping up with him, because I know he's probably not going to make the same kind of mistake that he made in Japan. That'll probably be a one-off for the entire season. I wouldn't be surprised. And right there you saw I tried to do what I was doing when I was out in front, and that's using the ERS right away when I get the full throttle coming out of that corner. But when you're in the slipstream and turning while full throttle with no traction control and the ERS on, the car actually almost stepped out. You couldn't really tell from that angle, but I really felt it in the controller. Putting in those purple sectors just because of the slipstream and the fresh tires. We will see, will we get him back here on this lap, or will we wait a little bit? We'll have to see. We got to get a good run coming out of this S section. On pad, it's very tricky to get the timing of the turn down, because you basically got to immediately snap left or right because of the saturation slowing down how quickly you can transition from left steering to right steering. Yeah, it looks like we're just going to hang out behind here, not using our ERS, kind of faking the move there. Like I said, trying to get any little advantage that we can get in this race because those small margins are what's going to decide this whole thing. So we've got 14 laps to go. Yeah, at least it's going to be exciting for the spectator, but it's going to be very stressful for us racing it, knowing that such a small margin of anything is what's going to ultimately decide who wins this race. And coming out of the S section on lap 13, we were very close to him. We had a very good lap. Don't even really got to burn much ERS, barely breathe on the button. Move ourselves back into the lead. And again, just trading position back and forth. Not too much to say about it. You guys know the drill at this point. As we move even further down the road, figuratively and literally, lap 18 now, and it's still the same thing. I'm still within a second. I'm still keeping hold of much of my ERS. No moment has really happened to get any kind of advantage on him. Doing any little kind of weaving to break up the slipstream, trying to get any little advantage I can. He's going to go for the move here. Does not, and it's just more of the same. You know, he's staying behind me. I don't know if he's burning all of his juice to keep up with me, or if he's saving it up for right at the end of the race. That's just something that I don't know. So I like before, I just gotta constantly playing this balance game, this guessing game, and just trying to position myself mentally and on track to just make the right decision that's ultimately going to win me the race. Because and that's the frustrating thing about it, because it can kind of come down to a guessing game. Like if I guess that he's catching up, I mean he's staying with me because he's using his ERS, and then I try to counter burn my ERS when he was saving his, I just lose. But at the same time, if I save mine while he's burning his and I lose track position, then like a safety car comes out and then he gets to recharge it, then I can lose that way. It's just, there's so many things that you can't control and can't really anticipate, like information that you just can't obtain that ultimately decides the race. That, like I said before, it's just such fine margins for error. Such fine margins will decide who wins this race, and it's why I hate league racing on this track, and Italy, and Saudi Arabia. I hate the slipstream tracks. It's just, holding R2 isn't racing. It's just sitting behind the guy in front and letting them do all the work. Not saying that Timo isn't doing work here. I mean, we're both driving at the top of our game. Is he going to go for the overtake here? I'm going slightly defensive. I kind of want to keep track position, because in my mind I was thinking that, like, trying to constantly look back coming out of quarters, I thought that maybe he was using a little bit more juice than me. So if we can go into the end of the race where I have track position and a little bit more meter in the tank ready to go, then I should be able to defend and finish out this race in front. But I mean, we'll see when we get there. We got 7 laps to go if you include this one, and things just continue to get more and more stressful for us as this race goes on, and the status quo of what's going on with us does not change. Again, I'll point out, it's funny that how spread out everyone was at this point, and then on everyone else you just see R2 dots just flying around right up each other the whole time. And as we jump even further ahead in this race, still nothing has changed in the status quo. Still keeping most of my ERS, about to 60% now. 2 laps to go, and I already kind of ran the number in my head. Even if I had 70 or 80% in the tank, I'm not going to be able to use all that in 1 lap. I'll reach the limit. So my thought process was, on the last lap, try to build a gap by using some of it, burn it down to about 60 or 50%, and then hopefully I have enough juice in the tank. As you can see, we built a little bit of a gap there, but this is usually where we build the gap. We were very quick in the corners in Sector 1, but again, that slipstream just helps so much, and it's so frustrating, just can't quite break away. Coming out of this corner, going to burn more juice. We're going to burn it down to about 60%, but we see that he's still keeping up with us, so we don't want to overextend and burn too much, because if he's going to be up our butt anyhow, regardless whether we use it or not, then we're actually better off saving it and then having that little bit of juice on the last lap to defense. Sounds like I'm talking about very small margins here, but this is the kind of stuff I was thinking about in this race, and it's the kind of thing that is going to ultimately decide this thing. And we see a lap car coming up, and I'm just hoping, a lap car, keep your pace. Go fast enough that I don't pass you until the next DRX activation point, every little advantage I can get is what I was looking for. And we're going to be starting the last lap here. Still the same situation. Timo less than a second behind me. As we've been within a second of each other the entire race, start to finish. Not even an exception under safety car. And as we come up on the car in front, that is MoJo in front of us. And it does look like that she's going to stay ahead of us up until right about here, the activation, not the activation point, the detection point, which means we will get DRS on this straight, which I didn't think Timo would have a chance to pass us on this straight, but what that does help me do is save just a little bit of ERS. As you can see, I kind of waited before I got on the button, and you'll see I turn it off before the end of the straight here. I could have burned it all the way because I'll have enough ERS for the whole lap. But like I said, every little bit helps. But he's actually got past MoJo also now, which means he won't have DRS. Well, I guess he'll have DRS anyhow. I was thinking that he needed DRS off MoJo, but I'm just being stupid. He's still within a second of me. I still hang on to 40% here, and I'm going to try to just hang on to the rest of my ERS and just burn it down the straight. We have more of a gap between us than the times where he's passed us when we were trading positions earlier in the race, so I was feeling good about it. I get a great run through the S section. Power to the floor, holding on to the button, and we're going to be able to keep him behind. He's not close enough. And that DRS definitely helped from MoJo, but we do still have 20% in the tank, so even if we didn't have that DRS, we could have just used more ERS, and I think that the result still is the same. But coming across the line, we're going to win by, I believe it was just 0.2 of a second. And we get fastest lap too, just because we burned so much ERS on that final lap. It was really the only lap of the entire race where it was all-out push. Okay, it was 0.4 of a second. We win the race, and you'll see here, we turn on the track map, and look at just the pace that me and Timo set. Just pristine pace the entire time. You'll see our two dots there, very close to each other. And then it's 3/4 of a lap to third place. It was just... I wasn't expecting that. It was just crazy to see how spread out everyone was, you know. Everyone was well into the point of being into their own race, and then and I didn't even realize what was going on the rest of the track because there's me and Timo just right up each other's butts, never outside of a second of each other the entire race, which, like I said, just goes to show, while the skill gap is very spread across the field, up front it is just absolute top level play. And it felt great to be able to get this win, extend the points lead, and to be able to get it on a track that I really don't like is a big advantage to me because, you know, that's one track I don't like out of the way, while pretty much all the tracks that I really like are still up, haven't quite come up yet in the championship. Remember, it is a random draw. They draw out a hat. After these races, they draw out of a hat what the next race is. And if I remember correctly, the draw for next week's race is Baku, Azerbaijan, which is a really strong track for me, and I'm really looking forward to that. And that can be huge in terms of the championship mentally, because if I can get a couple of these tracks now that I feel really strong at, and I can clutch up and get the win, extend that points lead, and then hopefully bring the Constructors' Championship closer as well. And yeah, as we'll see, we're on the podium with Timo. You can actually hear a little bit of the stream in the background. I thought I had that muted, my apologies. And we'll see the final standings here after I get some XP that I don't care about because there's nothing on this season's not Battle Pass that I want. We're able to win the race by less than a second, and then it's 56 seconds back to third place, representing the USA in P1. But you can see Williams both second and fifth, which means they got 28 points to my 26 points, so they still beat us in terms of points today. And as we look through the race director, just getting a quick look at the penalties and warnings and collisions, because remember, there's 3 championships we're fighting for: drivers, constructors, and least penalties. Least penalties has a cash prize. We obviously want the cash prize. We are money hungry. We are here for the cash. We're not just here for the cash. We enjoy the racing. We're here for a good time, here for some good competition, and it felt good to have a good race here on a track that we hate. Very stressful race, but at least we got this one out of the way. And yeah, we're on to the next one. I'll see you guys next week, and feel free to put in the comments anything else you want to see out of these videos or any changes that you guys would like to be seen. Peace.